Well, welcome, Ronnie. Ronnie Manning from Yubico, the Chief Brand Advocate,
Yes,
joining us from San
thank you.
Diego today. So welcome, Ronnie.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Do you just want to give us a quick overview of Yubico and also your role? I see you've been at Yubico for a little while now.
Yes, I've been actually with Yubico for just about 12 years. So I've seen the big growth of the company. I've seen the big growth of the ecosystem that supports our product. And our product itself is called the Yubikey, which is a hardware authenticator, a hardware security key. And really, if you think kind of the opposite of something like a SMS, and I know we'll get into this a little bit later, but opposite of SMS, we're using a phone to be able to securely log into an app or service. You do that by using the YubiKey itself. You touch the key, and that is going to log you in. We have thousands of integrations, everything from all the major enterprise apps and services that you'd use, from identity platforms to password managers to anything else basically you could think of, all the way to consumer applications as well, such as social media, banking applications, and others that all support natively support the YubiKey as a form of authentication to log in.
Have you found, Ronnie, since AI, that the uptake of the YubiKey and passkeys in particular have increased a lot?
I think it's interesting. I was at RSA a few weeks ago, which is a big security conference here in the United States, and AI was everywhere. I think we all are seeing that AI is very transformative. It's changing the way businesses are doing business. It's changing kind of the way that security companies are building platforms, productivity platforms, all of these sorts of things. But one of the things that's stuck in my head is, as we're moving to AI, still one of the most important things improving someone's identity and from the security side is still going to be the actual human on the other side that's going to verify that identity. So, as I think AI is great, but you also have to look at it that there is, potential for bad doers to utilize it, and I'm sure we're seeing an uptick in that.
So maybe we should also, is there a quick explanation of how the YubiKey actually works? It looks like it's a USB.
It is. It is. So we have multiple form factors of the keys. We have USB-A, USB-C. There's some keys that have a biometric sensor on them. There's also small, tiny, I actually have one here. They're called nano form factors. And these are really, really small and really made to sit semi-permanently in a USB drive. But all of these keys, I'll just show this one again. This one actually has a little skin on it. You can personalize them, make them fun, but they all support multiple authentication protocols. So they support one-time password, kind of traditional one-time password. They also support time-based OTPs. We have a companion app on our phone and on a desktop that you can actually get those 6-digit time-based codes that come out. And then they support what are the modern phishing resistant authentication. We were one of the co-authors of the FIDO Universal Second Factor that actually turned into FIDO 2, which is where the term passkeys has come from. And these support device-bound passkeys, and we've actually supported them on YubiKeys since 2018. So the term itself as passkeys has been more recent, but we've been supporting them for quite some time. And then the other phishing resistant mechanism is going to be a traditional smart card. So this sits in a very unique place because it can work with older legacy systems as well as modern systems as well. So it really bridges that authentication gap that some companies may have across their organization. But from a usability standpoint, that's really one of the great things about the device is it is that highest level of security with phishing resistance, but it is extremely simple to use. When I'm logging into something, I'll just use Google as an example. Kind of after I've set it up within the security settings, the next time I go to log into it on that machine, I'll put in my credentials. It'll prompt me to insert my key. I will touch the physical key. That'll then send the credential, and it'll verify it's me because this key is tied to me as I set it up. And then it will log me into the system. That's pretty much the same way that it's going to work across all login flows. As well, they have NFC, so I can touch it to the back of a mobile phone to be able to get in, or if the phone has or if the laptop has a external NFC reader or NFC built into the machine itself, you can also touch it, put a pin in, and authenticate through that way. So there's a lot of different use cases for the YubiKey, and it supports a lot of different authentication flows.
So obviously our, our passwords are pretty much passe, I suppose, now.
We've been working very hard to move the ecosystem away from passwords. This is really one of the beauties of FIDO credentials or passkeys, is that they have the ability to remove that dependency on the password itself. Really going out with Microsoft, they were one of the first ones who built this passwordless flow. So when I register this key, my credentials are going to be on this. So when I go to log in, I don't have to do a username and password. All that I'm going to do is put in a PIN. I'm going to put this, I'm going to touch it, and then it's going to log me in. So we are seeing movement away from passwords with passkeys. There's also kind of two different methods of passkeys. There's device bound, ones that sit on a security key like a YubiKey. And then there's multi-device as well, which can actually be syncable on a mobile phone or on a desktop. And really kind of the great thing is this has built a lot of momentum within the ecosystem, all helping for passkey adoption and ultimately working to move towards passwordless login flows. But, we see it as a great complement to each other.
Well, do you know what the uptake is, not just perhaps with Yubico, but globally with passkeys themselves? I know our ATO, for example, has that as an option now. So obviously big governments are moving into that area.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have kind of the data and kind of the percentages of growth, but we have seen over the last few years, when you have kind of the big tech giants like Google and Microsoft and Okta kind of adding passkey support and putting them in, the good thing is that others will follow that. And we are seeing passkey support on consumer applications such as Amazon, such as password managers as well. So I think as the terminology becomes more understood, you don't want something popping up on your screen that says, "Hey, do you want to add a passkey here?" without knowing what it is. So I think there is still that educational purpose, but it is great as an option for both enterprise and consumers to be adding this. So we continuously see more and more applications and services adding support.
I noticed I mentioned the ATO before, and it still is an option. Do you think they'll actually take the password component away? I don't mean specifically the ATO, but as an example, the passkey is an option rather than you have to do it this way. Do you think there'll come a time, Ronnie, when it is a passkey or nothing?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, that is going to be the most modern, the most phishing resistant way to authenticate into services. It's definitely going to take a long time. There's not going to be a light switch that it's like passwords are gone forever. There's going to be some that take longer to do so, but ultimately that is kind of the way that we are looking, and the way that I think the industry would like to go, because passwords themselves have been proven to be weak. They're easy to be extracted, they're easy to steal. And they're not a trusted level of authentication. So I think, we are kind of still early in this journey, but there is a lot of big support that is helping to drive this. And, the more that we talk about it with media, the more the education aspect of it is all going to help in that adoption. So, hopefully we'll see it soon.
I'd be interested to know what role will humans play in security ecosystems with the domination of automation and AI?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak from the perspective of Yubico. I mean, the keys themselves, before AI was really doing it, when they first came around and first got introduced, they all have that capacitive touch to them. So you can see it's kind of here on this key, it's going to be on the little edge there. But that was built in as a security feature within these devices themselves, that they required that human touch, that human presence to trigger the key, so that something externally can't trigger the YubiKey in that manner. One of the great things about these keys themselves, when you think about kind of that extractable information. With the advancements in AI, they can build pages, they can personalize phishing attacks, they can do deep fakes, they can do voice deep fakes for over the phone, all of these sorts of things. And one of the things that is difficult is you're putting a lot of burden on employees and individuals as themselves to make the correct decision if something is legit or not. The great things about this phishing resistant authentication within the keys is that actually doesn't allow a phishing attack to take place. Say someone calls from and they say, hey, this is Ronnie from help desk, could you please provide us with that OTP code to be able to get in? We just send a text to you, or pull up your authenticator app and give me that number. Because of FIDO and those cryptographic protocols, there's no data to extract. So me as a user, I can't offer anything to that individual. And also built within the protocols themselves is origin. So it can actually tell if someone were to put up a fake page that looked like, your company's login page, and I had the Yubikey set up for that, it would actually know that that wasn't the legit page, and it wouldn't send out that credential. So the good thing is it still requires that human interaction, but what it does is it lessens the need for the human to make that choice if something is legit or not.
Yeah, because I hear a lot that bad actors are getting smarter and smarter and smarter, and it's becoming really difficult for humans.
And the fact that things can be so personalized, the fact that the scale that they can be produced, and just how quickly you could turn around a login page that looks like it's from your company, all these sorts of things are growing more rapidly. And when you add in the fact that someone could impersonate a voice, someone could impersonate physically the individual, it definitely is something that people need to be aware. But the good thing is, we're working kind of to the individual logging in.
So from a practical perspective, if I'm enterprise customer X and I've got 500 employees, do I buy 500 Yubico keys? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot to make purchasing of Yubikeys as seamless as possible. We've introduced what's called Yubikey as a service, which is basically kind of a subscription offering. We also have UB Enterprise Delivery that's able to ship keys out to individuals regardless of where they are. If they're in the home office or if they're working remotely, we have the ability to send keys out in that way. But yes, I think if you think about the whole phishing resistant narrative, you want the employee to be phishing resistant from that onboarding moment, so you're not dependent on a password or a weaker form of authentication. Then for those authentication moments within the organization, well, I should mention one of the things with the Yubikeys, you don't necessarily have to use it every time. It can be used, and then the browser session or the machine can be trusted. And then there's the recovery side of things. The great thing about a Yubikey is it's hardened, it's purpose built for authentication and storing that credential. So if I were to get a new machine or break that one or get a new phone, I'm able to quickly do account recovery with that credential that's on that key. But we do recognize or do recommend having multiple keys per individual. That way you do have a primary and a backup, or if you're in a scenario where maybe you want to use a syncable pass key and a device bound, kind of that option. And then there's also areas within an organization that maybe are mobile restricted. You can't use a phone, where you need to use a hardware authenticator, such as a call center, maybe manufacturing or healthcare within a clean room. So there's a lot of different variables there. But we kind of use the term phishing resistant authentication. But I think what really is more important is that every employee becomes a phishing resistant user. Because if it's kind of not across and everyone's at that same level of authentication, that could be a weak area kind of within the threat surface of the company. So we recommend kind of everyone being able to get that, whether you're in the organization or you're remote, or even if you're in the supply chain to the company.
Is there much training required, Ronnie, or is it pretty self-explanatory?
It's as simple. When you need to use it, it's as simple as touching the device, and that's why when you think of kind of learning, I like to use this really small one as an example. You keep this semi-permanently or it can stay, if you're in a secure environment, within your laptop itself. And it essentially just becomes another button on the machine. When I'm logging in and I need to, if I'm doing like a single sign on through Okta or something, I need to authenticate into there. It's basically put in my PIN and touch the YubiKey and it's on. It takes a millisecond to do that. But you know, kind of from that seamless workability and usability, we've really worked hard with our ecosystem and our partners to make sure that their support is as easy as possible, so that keys can either be self-provisioned, they can be, multiple can be set up by each employee. And most recently, we've introduced something that's called FIDO pre-registration. This is GA with Okta right now, where we actually will provide that user's credential on that key, and then we're able to ship that to that individual. We provide them a PIN that goes out of band. So when I'm starting at a new company, my YubiKey shows up, my PIN is kind of out of band. I open my laptop, I plug it in, I put that PIN, I touch my key, and I'm automatically logged into the system. So the goal there is to make it as easy as possible for both the organization in deploying the YubiKeys and for the end user from getting started. If you can plug it in and type in a PIN and touch it, you're good to go.
Excellent. From an Australian perspective, is the uptake here similar to the rest of the world?
I think so. I mean, I think that the understanding of better security is not kind of a nice to have anymore. If you look at kind of full circle of where we are and kind of what's to come, kind of if you lean on the AI side of things, that along with kind of the push and the advancement of authentication, the push of passkeys, the reduction in help desk calls, support calls, all of these sorts of things that you achieve by using these modern tools. Yes, we are seeing kind of global. We are a global company, I should say, and we are seeing increased not only usage but increased kind of wall to wall for that phishing resistant user and phishing resistant enterprise.
So last question from me is perhaps why should I be using a YubiKey compared to your competitors?
Yeah, I mean, we are the original. We are the pioneer of the modern security key. We are the author of the FIDO protocols that are used in here that have achieved that phishing resistance. And I mean, really, we've worked extremely hard to make sure that YubiKeys can be used within the enterprise as easy as possible. But one of the things that we see a lot is organizations want their employees to take their YubiKeys home so they can use them on their personal accounts as well. So, we've built this really big ecosystem so that you can have the ability to do that. I think that if you teach good hygiene at work, it's going to create good hygiene at home. And all of that is only better kind of for the employee and the organization. And then sometimes if the employees leave, they just keep the YubiKeys since they're already using them on their personal stuff, and that person has an advantage over the hackers.
Excellent. I've really appreciated our time today, Ronnie. That's been quite enlightening.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate the opportunity.
Cool. Thanks for that. I'll just stop the recording. Yeah, so stop. There we go. I'll let Louise back in. There we go. Yeah, thanks for that. Really appreciate it. Hopefully got all your messaging that you needed to get across.
No, sometimes hopefully I didn't talk too much.
No, I found, as I said, I always find it fascinating that we're going back to a physical product rather than having it sort of as
it's very interesting. I mean, I've been with the company for so long, and I can anecdotally tell you that we've constantly heard that this is going, the phone, that this and that are going to kind of take its place, but we've continued to be on this trajectory, and it's just it proves that something simple yet secure that requires that human point to trigger the key is extremely valuable. And we were the original security key, and now others have come on board. We actually, when we wrote the FIDO protocols, we made them open standards so that anyone could use those. And that invited competition. Competition's good. Competition makes you continue to improve. It makes you continue to innovate and all of these sorts of things. So there's a lot of need for this sort of security in the world, and I think now and I kind of mentioned this before, but with multi-device syncable passkeys and kind of the device-bound passkey, it's really helping to push these FIDO standards and passkeys forward. Whereas it's not necessarily like, oh, what is that? That would be cool to use. It's no, this is the way that you should be going. Like Gartner actually just put out a data point last month. They put out a scale of trust and authentication, and I can send you the report. But basically, it starts at the lowest, and that's going to be your passwords, and then the very high level of trust is going to be FIDO2 security keys and smart card. So the industry has noticed, and they understand kind of where the value of security is with these things.
All right, excellent. Thanks for your time again, Ronnie.